this meeting, the Owensboro Board of Commissioners, to order and ask our city clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Bob Glenn.
Here.
Commissioner Debbie Nunley.
Here.
Mayor Ron Payne.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeff Sanford.
Here.
Commissioner Pam Smith-Wright.
Here.
All present. I will ask everyone to please stand as our city manager leads us in the invocation and pledge to our flag.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd ask you to join me in prayer or silent meditation as may be your own personal practice. Father God, we come to you tonight, rejoice in this beauty and comfort and the joy of spring that we see all about us. You feed our crops for planting and provide us rain and sun. Lord, we just thank you. You've given us rest and relief from a long, cold winter. We thank you for the spring, Lord. As our workers return to heavy construction, we ask you, Lord, to keep them safe as they're out and about their business. We ask, Father God, you protect our police and fire as they are out protecting us. Lord God, we also ask you to protect the American military, both those who have served, those who are serving on foreign battlefields. Please bring them home safely, Lord. Bless and protect their families at home and reunite them, Father. And finally, we pray for the men and women of this commission tonight. I pray that you give them stamina, sustain them for their complex task of governing this community. It's in Christ's name I pray, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Now the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Parrish. Commissioners, the first thing we have now is our presentations. Do we have any of the Vietnam War veterans here? Pam, if that individual comes, we'll take care of it later on in the meeting.
Thank you.
The next item is a presentation from Alderman Area Community Services Health Program. Brandon Harley. Brandon, you here? I believe you have something you'd like for us to endorse. Go ahead. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Thank you all for allowing me the opportunity to come speak with you tonight. Of course, my name is Brandon Harley from Audubon Area Community Services. I'm the Chief Operations Officer there, and I've been there for about a year at this point in time. And what I've come to address the body for tonight is a new grant proposal that we are currently seeking. It's from the Health Resources Service Administration Bureau for Primary Health Care. And what we're proposing to do is operate a homeless health care clinic here within the city boundaries of Owensboro. We were notified back at the beginning of the year, about January, of a funding opportunity through HRSA at that point in time that offers a grant opportunity of $650,000 a year for 2 years to operate a health clinic to serve the underserved or medically underserved populations. And one of the criteria categories is a homeless population. Our proposed service area that we want to operate, of course, we will headquarters the clinic itself here in Owensboro, where the old McCauley Clinic was in existence. We will do outreach services to the seven counties of the Green River service area. It's a collaborative agreement and effort that we work with other providers in the community, including Owensboro Health, Green River Health Department, River Valley Behavioral Health, and other service providers to try to bring services for this population. Statistics and outcomes indicate that whenever you're funding for a place to live, a place to eat, a place to find warm, your healthcare outcomes trend down. It's quite obvious, and those healthcare outcomes, of course, impact the overall health aspects of the entire community and our entire region. So one of the indicators that we're looking at is to try to work collaboratively within the city boundaries as well as with the other local governments and county administrations, try to identify folks that we can serve for this population. We intend to utilize some of our internal services like the GRITS transportation services that we operate there at the Audubon area to help transport clients and patients to this clinic site. We're going to do some intensive case management to work with that client population once they come into the clinic for that primary health care, to help them find some long-term care needs, to help them prescription assistance, to give them transportation services, to help them find housing, to give some of those social barriers that impede the health care outcomes for this population so we can help them trend to better health care outcomes. I've met with multiple agencies within the community about this proposal. I've sought many letters of support, both from outside agencies as well as some of the local government entities, because part of our grant process indicates that we need to have letters of support indicating how we're partnering the community and what we intend to do and how we intend to impact the healthcare outcomes. And then we're also working independently with, like River Valley, with Owensboro Health to contract some MOUs for service agreements to serve this population overall. Just for a timeline's sake, the funding opportunity was announced a couple weeks ago finally. We have to do a two-tier application process to seek this funding. First, on June the 17th, we have to do an electronic submission through grants.gov to give an abstract and give a budget and provide our outline for service delivery. And then by July the 17th, we have to provide the full-scale application to deliver to show exactly how we're going to deliver the outcomes for this grant proposal. We hope to hear a funding release sometime around the beginning of 2017, January 2017, and then once that funding release occurs, we hope to be operational within 120 days. So at this point in time, we appreciate everyone's interest here. We appreciate the support we've received from the community to try to get this off the ground, and we're looking forward to hopefully being able to be funded and provide those needed services to this population within our community and region.
Brandon, a couple of questions before I ask the commission. You are going to work with the shelters?
Correct.
Okay, so
yes.
I was curious about that. And then, are these federal funds? This a federal application?
Yes, it's from Health and Human Services, one of the sub-departments there, the Health Resources Service Administration. They've allotted these types of fundings for about 15 years at this point in time. And we are a community action agency, one of the 23 here in Kentucky. One of our sister agencies in Middle Kentucky, Kentucky River Foothills, has operated a homeless health care clinic since 2005 through this similar funding stream, and they've been operational for almost 12 years at this point in time and have been able to achieve some pretty successful outcomes considering they're on the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains at that point in time. So they had a tremendous need and a high poverty rate within that area that they've been able to serve that population with this specific fund stream.
So $650,000, 2 years.
Correct.
Primarily health care, that's what it sounds like.
Yes, it's primary health care outcomes. And one of the other things that we can provide as well with this, not only will we serve acute care needs, we can also become the health care home for this population. And then once we move this population to a permanent residence, we can follow through and see that person as their primary health care home for up to 1 year after they've established residence, and then, refer them off to a primary health care provider after that.
Well, I tell you, I commend you. I think it's a great program, and anything we can do to help the homeless population in this community, we want to do it. We're already working with HUD to ensure that we have no homeless veterans in Owensboro and Davis County. So this follows up with that. So. Good luck, and I sincerely hope that you do get that. Anything we can do, if you got any letters of support, whatever that we can give you, we'd certainly be willing to do that, and more than happy to do that. Commissioners, anyone got a question? Yes, ma'am.
I'm aware of this program. I did have a question though. You say Old Macaulay Clinic. Are you talking about the Tino shelter or the old clinic that was behind the hospital?
At 819 East 9th Street, behind the old Wendell Foster Center, where the operation was.
I'm kind of wondering why you don't go ahead and use the Macaulay Clinic that we have now. Are we not able to?
Well, part of the funding guidelines indicates that we can't operate a clinic where services are already being provided of that aspect. So we couldn't co-house where health care services are already being administered, primary health care services.
Does it make it more efficient for you to be in that location? Because it seems like that you'd be more effective maybe in this location.
Well, a couple things. Of course, one of the things that drives our location site, of course, is some of the cost pieces. And we've already worked with Wendell Foster Center on trying to work within the lease capacity, because with that funding opportunity, we only have a limited amount of funds to provide that overhead and administrative portion. So in working with them with that lease, I think we've come to a reasonable agreement. And secondly, of course, before Macaulay moved to the current site, there was a lot of renovative work where that's already pretty much functional, and it's still in good order to operate a clinic pretty efficiently and quickly. And then third, of course, because of the actual restrictions on the funding, where we can't operate where there's already capacity being maintained, we have to go elsewhere.
I just think this is a huge program to get these people into the population health care continuum of care and get them connected with primary care doctors.
Yeah.
At the onset.
Well, we appreciate your support, and like I said, the unique piece of this, I think, is how we interface that case management piece to be able to work with folks once they leave the clinic doorstep, to work them and engage them in the community as an overall whole to meet their holistic needs.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, and of course the hospital has, that sort of system already in place, so hopefully you'll be working with them to get those people into the system.
Yes, Owensboro Health's been great to work with. We have multiple calls, meetings, so we're working pretty consistently and well together and trying to get this off the ground. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Anyone else? Commissioner.
Got one. So you're going to work with the homeless shelters, and I think Macaulay Clinic in its past iteration has been terrific, and I applaud your work to get the grant done. But here's the question. How do they get the people to the facility? Would the homeless shelters need to find a way to transport them? Are you going to have a vehicle as part of the grant?
As
Because a
part
lot
of
of these
this-
guys don't have cars.
Yes, you're right, and that's one of the key aspects of this, and I think that's one of the unique pieces that Audubon can bring to the table. Once we're able to identify a good referral source, and we're going to do outreach services, do announcements, PR, work within the shelters themselves, work within the community, and work within the local judge executives' offices in each county to make sure that the announcement and the services are aware that we're going to engage our own grit services to work with and get that transportation to get those folks to the clinic site, and then any other follow-ups that we need to.
Okay, and then the last question I've got is Brandon, and this may be another grant, but what about having a mobile clinic? A clinic where even if they're not in the shelters, let's say they're down by the river bottoms, and you find out someone's willing to meet you there at an agreed upon location like the Cadillac restaurant, you meet them there. Could that be part of a future grant, or is that something you could service in this grant?
Well, originally with this funding stream through HRSA, particularly with Kentucky River Foothills, they sought a mobile clinic usage at that point in time back in 2005. However, with this new funding stream and some of the restrictions they've put, we have to actually have an established site, but we can provide that outreach, and I have thought about that. And it may be a subsidiary grant that we look for in the future if we identify the need. We're just looking to try to really get this established and work, and then do the outreach piece. And as we identify the needs, I hope to be able to grow this into some aspect like that. And one of the things, and I've met with the Homeless Coalition here locally on a number of occasions and worked extensively and worked with some of the directors of some of the shelters. I hope to be able to establish, once we get off the ground, to do an on-site assessments there within the clinics as we go along, because I think that would be a tremendous gain for everyone involved.
Thank you for all your efforts on behalf of the homeless in our community, the less fortunate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Commissioner.
As the mayor said, we are partnering with HUD for veterans. And so once they get a home, what do you consider homeless? Because if they're placed in a home, that doesn't mean that they are going to have the medical care that they need. So what are the qualifications going to be to be specified as a homeless person?
And that's a great question. One of the things that's unique about this funding opportunity is we have a little leverage and leeway about how we define a homeless population or our target population in this. It can be more so outside of the traditional homeless where you don't have an actual address or four walls to call your own. It could be folks that are in transitional housing, in transit, or we can base it upon how much of their income they're actually expending on their own housing needs. For instance, if you're spending more than, national statistics say if you're spending more than a third of your income on your housing needs, then you're actually at risk of being homeless at that point in time, at a higher risk. So we can define that in such a broad term that we can encompass a large number of folks. And extensively, for instance, I've spoken with Dr. Litzy with the International Center, and we're hoping that we can expand and provide services to the refugee population as well by defining homelessness in such a way that it will encompass the population of refugees coming into the area.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good. Brandon, thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
Good luck. I really sincerely hope you get that grant. Be
We
great.
do too. Thank you,
Okay.
Mayor.
With that, Commissioners, we'll now have a public events update. Tim?
Good evening, Mayor, Commission. Tim Ross, Public Events Director. Spring is always an exciting time. There's more and more folks as the weather's warming up in all of our parks. Our Parks Department is in high gear with everything, getting ready to to kick off now for our warmer months. And I just wanted to give you an update for just a few minutes of some of the major events we have coming up and some of the regular programming just over the next few weeks before we hit the middle of summertime. One of those we started a couple years ago, Bluegrass on the Banks, in partnership with the International Bluegrass Music Museum and Randy Lanham, and continuing to try to brand ourselves with bluegrass that we're known for some of our convention groups and meetings that come through. We've got live bluegrass music a couple times a month on the first and third Tuesday of every month from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock down at the River Overlook. And then, believe it or not, we're only a week away from Barbecue Festival, about a week and a half, I guess, on the second weekend in May. It's always a second weekend, so May 13th and 14th, that will be happening again, kicking off at 5 o'clock on Friday evening, the 13th. The road closures, that always impacts some of the downtown businesses and downtown residents and folks. It's the same as what it's been the last several years. On Thursday morning, you can see there on that right-hand side of the map in green, at 6 a.m. we close a portion east of Davis Street on 2nd for some of those vendors and Carnival to start loading in. The main downtown core in blue there closes Thursday night at the end of the workday. So those church cooking team can start building their pits and get those vendors loaded in for the activities Friday and Saturday. And then the remaining portion out in front of the Hampton and the Convention Center closes first thing Friday morning for some of that additional load in. So that's not a change. There's no additions. It's the same closure we've had the last couple of years. And that map, a little bit more detailed, a little harder to see. But the Carnival, again, over underneath the bridge there east of Davis Street. They've got arts and crafts vendors in that kind of gold-yellow color there along Veterans Boulevard, and that area continues to expand. The main church cooking teams around the courthouse, and then the backyard cooks is kind of an orange color there on 2nd Street in front of the Convention Center and the Hampton Inn. That area, Todd Johnson and Kelly continue to grow that. Last year, I think they had 42 or 43 competition teams on Saturday, which is great. The Convention Center and Dean's Building, last year they started a kickoff concert in conjunction with the festival and WBKR, and this year they've expanded that, and they're bringing in John Michael Montgomery, a national recording artist, on Friday night for a kickoff concert. So it's a great way to get out and enjoy some great country music from a national artist, Kentucky guy, from here to kick off the festival on Friday. So those are some of the basic footprint and layout, again, really similar to what it has been now for the last 2 years for Barbecue Fest. Then that very next weekend, I don't have a slide here, but Friday After 5 kicks off. Obviously, they've got a big anniversary this year, and so they start that on Friday, May the 20th. And then we've got every Saturday night Live on the Banks for the next 20 weeks, May through the end of September there, with live music every Saturday night. And this year we're expanding that to 2 stages. We've been doing the Overlook for the last couple of years, but we're going to go ahead and add music to the pavilion at the north end of Allen Street. So there'll be music on both sides of Smothers Park there every Saturday night. We've got the Memorial Day, lots of ceremonies that come on Memorial Day. There's numerous things throughout the community, and the 2 of them on Memorial Day itself. It starts at 9 a.m. down at Smothers Park. We do a wreath-laying ceremony, and then there's commemoration ceremony over at the Sports Center later on that day. So Memorial Day is not very far away either, that we do each May. And then the last one I'll mention just real quick is the Moonlight Ride, an event we started just a few years ago. It's a great nighttime bike ride, a different style event. We've got a lot of bikers and runners in town, and you don't have to be an avid biker to participate in this. Casual bikers that go out just with a nice leisurely stroll, but we get great support from the police department and street department to get a nice, secure, safe route where you can go on about 11-mile bike ride under the stars. And last year, that event, just in 2 years, has grown to, well, we had almost 450 bike riders last year, which is a huge number. And so this year, we're hoping, obviously, to continue to improve that. And it's a great fundraiser for St. Jude Children's Research. Unfortunately, we've got numerous families from our community and around the region that need the critical support of what St. Jude does. And they offer a real critical piece to folks that are going through some difficult circumstances. So they've been a great partner of ours in bringing quite a few folks to our area, and that's been a good support for them. And that's going to be Friday, June 3rd. So those are just a few of the things coming up over the next few weeks as we get kicked off with the warm months.
Summer season's underway.
It is. Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions of Tim?
Thank you.
Tim, thank you. All right, Commissioners, we'll now get into our business items. First is to consider approval of the minutes of our meeting dated April 19th, 2016. Do we have a motion for approval?
Motion.
Second.
Questions, comments, corrections, anything? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Glenn?
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley?
Yes.
Mayor Payne?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford?
Yes.
Commissioner Smithroyd?
Aye.
Commissioners, we'll now go to the ordinances that are, we have for second reading. We vote on these. The first one, Counselor.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Ordinance number 8-2016, an ordinance providing for the authorization, issuance, and sale of revenue refunding bonds, Series 2016, in the principal amount of $7,200,000 or such lesser amounts as may be necessary of the City of Owensboro, Kentucky, for the purpose of refunding certain outstanding obligations payable from the revenues of the municipal waterworks of said city, setting forth the terms and conditions on which said bonds and additional bonds ranking on a parity therewith are to be and may be issued and outstanding, providing for the security and payment of said bonds and interest thereon from the income and revenues of said municipal waterworks, and providing for the rights of the holders of said bonds and the enforcement thereof. Publicly read for approval on second reading this third day of May, 2016.
Do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Lynn, you here for OMU? Just a couple of quick questions for the people at home. One, I know we're doing this just to basically save some money. How much?
If the rates stay low like they are right now, we expect 2.8% interest rate, so we'll save about $700,000.
$700,000 over.
That's after issuance of cost.
Okay, great.
This
And
one
we
has-
will not extend the life of the bonds?
No, it's
Good
still
deal.
the same term, 2035.
Great. Commissioners, any questions? Anyone? Anyone? It's hard to pass this up.
Yeah.
Can I ask one? I'm
Yes,
sorry.
you may. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Because I think she has the answer. So what was the expense of the original bond for? Because you and I talked before the meeting.
Yes, you asked me that a couple weeks ago.
Right.
In 2009, the bonds were issued to refund like $13 million of the 1999 bonds refunding, and then also they did put in a new well field, water treatment plant improvements, replacements, and they designed the sludge retention system.
Awesome. So the water side of the house. Very good. Thanks, Lynn.
Mhm, Thank
Very
you.
good. Any other questions, Commissioners? Anyone from the public? Call for the vote.
Thank you.
Commissioner Nunley?
Yes.
Mayor Payne?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford?
Yes.
Commissioner Smithroyd?
Aye.
Commissioner Glenn?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item, Counselor.
Ordinance 9-2016, an ordinance annexing to the City of Owensboro certain unincorporated territory in the County of Davis, adjoining the present boundary line of the city, being property located at 1480 River Road, Owensboro Riverport Authority, containing 11.209 acres, more or less. Publicly read for approval on second reading this third day of May, 2016.
Do you have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any questions, comments? Mr. Parrish, any comment about this?
It's very simple, Mayor. 11.2 acres of the Riverport being annexed in, all within the city.
Great. Anyone? Call for the vote.
Mayor Payne?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford?
Yes.
Commissioner Smithroyd?
Aye.
Commissioner Glenn?
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley?
Yes.
Motion passes. Commissioners, before we get on to the next item, Bill, I'd like to ask if you could, maybe Ed or somebody, give me the acreage in our city 10 years ago and what it is today. Just and I don't need it right now. Just the next commission meeting. I'd like to see how much we've grown this city. Next item, Counselor.
Ordinance 10-2016, an ordinance approving and adopting text amendments to Appendix F, Article 21, Downtown Overlay District of the Owensboro Metropolitan Zoning Ordinance for the cities of Owensboro and Whitesville and Davis County. Publicly read for approval on second reading this third day of May, 2016.
Do we have a motion for approval?
Motion.
Second.
Second, and this is just basically transferring the downtown design administrator to planning and zoning.
That's right.
Very good. Questions by anyone on the desk? Anyone in the public? Call for the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford?
Yes.
Commissioner Smithroyd?
Aye.
Commissioner Glenn?
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley?
Yes.
Mayor Payne?
Motion passes. Next item, Counselor.
Ordinance 11-2016, an ordinance amending Appendix F of the Owensboro Municipal Code pertaining to the Owensboro Metropolitan Zoning Ordinance to create the addition of a new Article 22, Arena Overlay District, to the zoning ordinance to provide a chapter within the ordinance for future possible overlay district regulations for the cities of Owensboro and Whitesville and Davis County. Publicly read for approval on second reading this third day of May 2016.
Do we have a motion for approval?
Motion.
Second.
Second. Bill, I might ask you, Red, or Steve, to comment briefly on what this does. But before we do that, I want to make a point here that there may be some misunderstanding about the Sports Center. At this point in time, the city still owns the Sports Center. Sports Center has not been transferred or sold to anyone. There seems to be a little misunderstanding about that, and will not be sold or transferred to anyone, in particular or especially the Iceman, Ron Gary, until such time as we have a viable plan that demonstrates that ice hockey can either be played in a renovated sports center or at some other arena. So, and that has not been given to this community. So, it's my understanding they have until September 30th to do that. But that sports center right now is still owned by the city. Anyone want to explain the benefits of this overlay?
I can give you a very short one. Ed can give you the detailed version, Mayor.
I like short. Go
This
ahead.
is very, very similar to the overlay district created downtown that added different requirements. Article 22 will create an overlay district around the block the sports center is on, bounded by West Parish, 12th, Hickman, and Parkview, concentrating the use of a multi-use facility for recreational sport, cultural entertainment, and that will limit, in essence, parking restrictions, allow us to make the fullest use of the parking there, and other refinements, but essentially to aid in parking.
Thank you, Mr. Parrish. Commissioners, any questions? Anyone? Public? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Smithwright,
Aye.
Commissioner Glenn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Mayor Payne,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item, Counselor.
Ordinance 12-2016, an ordinance of the City of Owensboro, Kentucky, authorizing the issuance of General Obligation Refunding Bond Series 2016A in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $2,730,000 for the purpose of currently refunding all or a portion of the outstanding City of Owensboro, Kentucky General Obligation Public Project Bonds Series 2006, the proceeds of which were used to finance various public projects throughout the city of Owensboro, Kentucky. II General Obligations Refunding Bonds Series 2016B in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $2,255,000 for the purpose of refunding in advance of maturity all or a portion of the outstanding City of Owensboro, Kentucky General Obligation Public Project Bonds Series 2008, the proceeds of which were used to finance the acquisition, construction, and installation of an ice skating rink within the city of Owensboro, Kentucky, and III General Obligation Bonds Series 2016C in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $2,850,000 for the purpose of financing a portion of the cost of the acquisition, construction, installation, and equipping of a multi-story building in the city of Owensboro, Kentucky, to be leased to International Bluegrass Music Museum Incorporated, approving the form of bonds, authorizing designated officers to execute and deliver the bonds, authorizing and directing the filing of notice with the state local debt officer, providing for the payment security of the bonds, creating bond payment funds, maintaining the heretofore established sinking fund, authorizing acceptance of the bids of the bond purchasers for the purchase of the bonds, and repealing inconsistent ordinances. Public read for approval on second reading this third day of May 2016.
Do you have a motion for approval?
Motion.
Second.
Second. Commissioners, again, as Counselor said, we've got 3 bond issues. 2 are refunding, similar to what we're doing with the OMU bonds, saving money. Third is to borrow money to move the International Bluegrass Center forward. Another editorial comment. You know, I've heard, oh my gosh, why are we issuing bonds whenever we got a $1.6 million deficit in our general fund? Comment is that the city anticipates getting every dime that we spent on this International Bluegrass Museum recovered through the TIF program. Is that right, Counselor? Yes, sir. Very good. So what this does, it allows us to move forward with building this museum, which we anticipate to have a significant influence on or effect on the city's tourism trade and move it forward now. So, in my opinion, it is a good investment. It's something well worth our doing. We've talked about it for years, and it's time to move this thing forward and get it underway. Comments by the commission? Anyone in the public? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Glenn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Mayor Payne,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford,
Yes.
Commissioner Smithwright.
Aye.
All right, Commissioners, that's all the ordinances that we had for second reading. We'll now go to, we have one for first reading. Counselor, no, two, I'm sorry, two. Counselor?
Ordinance 13-2016, an ordinance adopting and approving the annual budget of the City of Owensboro, Kentucky for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2016 and ending June 30th, 2017, and appropriating the revenues to the various departments of the city as set forth herein. Introduced and publicly read on first reading this third day of May, 2016.
Commissioners, again, we do not vote on this at our meeting tonight, but we'll on the next at the next meeting. I just have one comment I want to make, and Bill, I'm going to then turn it over to you if you have any. But, you know, in looking at this budget summary, and I don't know if you brought your budgets or not, Commissioners, but I want to point this out on page 1 where we have the budget overview. You know, we talk about that $1.6 million deficit we got in our general fund. And I just want to bring this to everybody's attention. That we talk about the general fund, and we should. It's our operating fund. It's the largest fund that we have. But we have $109 million of appropriations for a variety of things in this city. Our fund balance, when we look at all of our funds, and I want to point this out, is nearly $24 million. You know, we talk about the general fund a lot, and we kind of ignore all these other things. But of that $24 million fund balance, of course, $7 million at the end of next year, even with this $1.6 million deficit, we're going to have $7 million left in our general fund. We're going to have a fund balance in the sanitation fund of $7 million. And I'm not going to read all of these. In our facilities replacement plan, we're going to have a fund balance of $1.6 million. That money being set aside to replace facilities, roofs, and things of that nature when the time comes. So there's more to this city's budget than just talking about that general fund. Okay, I just want to make that point. Mr. Parrish, any further comments about this budget?
The thing I would add, Mayor, is it is a maintenance budget. There are no additions with the exception of transportation for a bus and for street work, an additional over $300,000 for street work.
Good. Commissioners, anyone? Comments of anybody? Next item, Counselor.
I'm sorry.
Annexation.
Sorry about that. It's on the wrong page. Ordinance 14-2016, an ordinance annexing to the city of Owensboro certain unincorporated territory in the county of Davis, adjoining the present boundary line of the city, being property located at 2900 Kentucky Highway 54, Gateway Commons Development, Track 2, 6.853 acres, and Track 3, 0.592 acres, containing a total of 7.445 acres more or less. Introduced and publicly read on first reading this third day of May, 2016.
So annexing another 7 acres. Mr. Ray, I had asked you earlier about this, that this is just cleaning up that area out there along the bypass, working with the state. This is, I assume, property they didn't need that now is being annexed by Gateway?
That's correct.
Okay, very good. Any comments, questions by anyone on the dais? You know, again, we were just talking about an annexation of 11 acres. I think originally this was 190 acres, and now we're back on 7 acres. You know, eventually we're not going to really need metro government or merged government because we're going to annex everything in Davis County, aren't we, Bill?
That's our intent, Mayor.
Well, we're sure moving in that direction. Anyone that public have a comment? Okay. We'll move on to municipal orders. We do vote on these.
Municipal Order 14-2016, a municipal order approving the 2016-2017 Annual Action Plan for Community Development Block Grant and Home Investment Partnership Funds prepared by the Community Development Department and authorizing and directing the mayor to execute the same. Introduced and publicly read for approval this third day of May 2016.
Motion for approval?
Motion.
Second.
Second. Ms. Shelton, you going to brief us?
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Abby Shelton, Community Development Director. I have a very quick presentation to review with you, and it's kind of a reiteration of what the public has heard previously. So, this is the action plan presentation. There are 3 plans that the Community Development Department prepares throughout the year. The consolidated plan, is a 5-year plan. The action plan is every year, and the CAPER is actually a report of what we've completed throughout the year. And the action plan and that I'm presenting right now is essential for our funding that we receive through HUD. We participate in 2 funding sources through HUD, a Community Development Block Grant, of course, and the Home Investment Partnership Program. There's also the Emergency Solutions Grant and the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS program. The annual action plan is a reiteration of the consolidated plan, pretty much gives a summary of our annual objectives, and I haven't strayed from those too much since Keith has done such a great job. We do have to outline what our proposed activities are going to be for the upcoming year, and then how we're going to distribute the funds. As well as, Mayor, all that paperwork you have to sign for certifications are submitted as well. As with every federal budget that comes down the line, we have received less funding each year. Surprisingly, this year we did receive about $20,000 more in home funding, so we'll be able to utilize those to create some good opportunities for some low-income families. This year we received $407,844 or $407,844 for CDBG, and we received $182,428 for Home Investment Partnership. The majority of these funds will be used in the Triplet Twist area to complete those programs. Of course, we're following up with a lapse in time since Keith has left, so gearing up for those programs is my priority, top priority. Of course, we will also be working with other partners throughout the community, including Habitat for Humanity. Housing Authority is actually building some houses right now, so those are partnerships that I'm looking further into with this budget as well. Action plan overview. Pretty much what we do with this action plan is let the government know we're going to carry through with their mission to provide decent housing, suitable living environment, and expand economic opportunities through the eligible activities of providing a benefit to low and moderate income persons. These are essential because this is what HUD is built on with Title I Act. Aiding in the prevention or elimination of slum and blight, addressing an urgent need as if we would have an earthquake or floods, anything of that nature. The action plan overview, this is an 87-page document in a nutshell. So basically what we do is through the Triplet Twist District, we're going to provide improve overall quality of life, provide transitional housing, facility improvements, eliminate the blight in these areas, increase home ownership, decrease the rate of unsound housing, increase the standard affordable housing units in this area, and improve shelter facilities and support services for homeless and special needs populations. These are the partners that we intend to work with. We have worked with in the past and will work with in the future. Of course, Habitat for Humanity and Housing Authority of Owensboro, 2 of the developers that we're going to be working with heavily in the next few years. Our income limits did increase a bit, so programs that we do provide will eke up just a little bit, which is actually a good thing for us because it means our median income has gone up. So, the Triplet Twist plan, of course, just a review of that because this action plan will rely heavily on it. We focus on neighborhood identity, commercial facade rehab, beautification, housing, and safety. We do have a new logo that I designed. It's actually on the farmers market sign if you go out to Parish and the campus out there. Our total budget for the Triplet Twist area is 1.6 in public and hopefully almost 3.1 in private investment for a total investment of $4.7 million, and that's over the next 3 years. Right now, the Triplet Twist plan does have grant applications if anybody's interested. The business facade upgrades are in full swing, and we also have existing homeowner rehab, just like we did in Mechanicsville, up for grabs. So if you're interested in that information, you can download it from owensboro.org, and hopefully soon we'll have the first-time home buyer program process all lined out because that is going to be a down payment assistance program that we're going to work through the home program, and hopefully we can get some LMI families in some good housing. And that's my contact information. Do you have any questions?
Abby, I don't know if this is a question for you or if it's for Ed or Bill, but Gabe's Tire is going nowhere. And I don't know at this point in time if we're ready to talk about what we need to do. I know, Bill, you emailed us about some more citations have been issued.
Yes, Mayor, we have citations have been issued, and we're looking at 2 alternate funding streams. So we're driving down 2 parallel tracks. Our hope is that the developer will come through and do his business. At the same time, we're running down a parallel track that looks to what if the city has to take over and take that down. One is through federal funding, one is through other city funding transferred into that,
Okay.
that area.
Because I'm beginning to feel I know the outcome, but we'll be a little patient. Commissioner?
I'll just piggyback on that. The federal funding that we're looking into, which would be the optimum probably solution, what's the time?
Well, I think, and I'd look at Abby, but I would think this year we could start that process. It's called Section 108 funds, and what it does is essentially leverage future allocations from the federal government for this economic development project inside our current Triplet Twist neighborhood.
Very good. Crossed.
Okay, that's good. Commissioners, anything else? Anyone?
I just had one very
Yes, sir.
quick
Go ahead,
question
Commissioner.
for Ms. Shelton. So the farmer's market, you had your first weekend this past week, I think. You had some vendors out there. Is that correct? Or
I'm not for sure. I did
you
speak
just
with.
provide the space, right?
Well, I don't even have anything to do with the space. They were just kind enough. The hospital was kind enough to let us put the logo on there, so people knew that they were in the Triplet Twist area. So it's free advertising for us, which is wonderful.
I was just going to say the comments I've gotten about the location have been extremely positive. So if that's the beginning of Triplet Twist, awesome job.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you.
By you and the hospital.
Yeah, I think this is going to be much more than just a typical farmer's market. It's going to become a community attraction if all goes well.
Great.
Anyone else on the dais? Anyone in the public? Abby, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Well done. Counselor, next municipal order.
Municipal Order 15-2016, a municipal order authorizing.
Mayor, just a point of order. We still have to vote on that.
Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't. You're right. We had a motion and second. Call for the vote.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Mayor Payne,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith-Wright,
Aye.
Commissioner Glenn.
Yes.
Passes. Next item.
Municipal Order 15-2016, a municipal order authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an application for a U.S. Bureau of Justice Assistance Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant in the approximate total amount of $11,440 for the purpose of reimbursing the Owensboro Police Department 50% of the total cost of $22,880 expended to purchase 32 new bulletproof vests to enhance officer and public safety, introduced and publicly read for approval this third day of May 2016.
Motion for approval.
Motion.
Second.
It would appear that this is something we have to do anyway. We've got to
that's
buy
correct.
these bulletproof vests. We're just going to get, hopefully, some of it paid for by the federal government. Is that pretty much it, Chief? Very good. Comments? Anyone in the public? All right, call for the vote.
Mayor Payne,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith-Wright,
Aye.
Commissioner Glenn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item, Counselor.
Municipal Order 16-2016, a municipal order adopting a sidewalk policy and construction and maintenance plan and appointing a sidewalk committee, introduced and publicly read for approval this third day of May 2016.
Do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Parrish, my understanding, basically what we're doing here is codifying what we're already practicing. Commissioners, I did have one question of Mr. Parrish about this, and it was, why do we need a committee? I was having a hard time understanding that. Mr. Parrish?
I've asked our Assistant City Attorney, Steve Lynn, to address that, if you don't mind, Mayor.
Good. Steve?
We have a mayor for several years. We've had an informal committee that has looked at this. We have these parts of the city divided into neighborhood association boards. We do this on a point scale, and it does help. I think it's beneficial that we have more than just one set of eyes that can take a look at our neighborhoods and make a determination that this is a place that we need to emphasize construction or improvements to our sidewalks. It just has a little more input than just one department of the city making the decision.
Okay, and I thought you indicated there might have been a requirement we do this.
It has to, Mayor, if I could be really blunt, it has to do with legal defensibility. When Steve has to defend a case that someone is injured on a sidewalk, this committee gives more credibility to the fact that the city has looked at it, and that starts with even state regulations.
Any other questions, commissioners? Staff? Anyone in the public? Call for the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford.
Yes.
Commissioner Smithwright.
Aye.
Commissioner Glenn.
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley.
Yes.
Mayor Payne.
Motion passes. We'll now go to city manager's items. Mr. Parrish.
Yes, Mayor, I'd ask you to recognize Ms. Hamrick for the financial report.
Ms. Hamrick.
Yes, Mayor and Commission, I'd be happy to provide the financial report for the month ended March 31st, 2016. Our general fund revenues through March 31st of $34,457,517 were $601,736, or 1.7 under budget. This is primarily due to insurance premium license fees and our net profit fees. Our general fund expenditures of $33,496,472 were $2,906,811, or 8% under budget, primarily due to salaries and benefits, and partially due to timing and maintenance and outside and professional technical services. The revenues and expenditures in your Community Vision Fund were under budget primarily due to timing of projects and capital outlay. Expenditures in our Sanitation Fund, Transit Fund, and Recreational Fund were all under budget. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer.
Just a couple, Angela. One on the property taxes. It looks like we're going to be close to hitting our budget. I know we've talked about this before because of the effort made to collect delinquent taxes. Is that right?
Yes,
Page
that's correct,
10.
Mayor. Yes, and we've had several, we're having our hearing tomorrow for the delinquent property taxes, and so we've had several people come in today to pay just to avoid having to come in for that hearing.
Okay, and then this budgeted number that does contain the 4%, right?
Yes.
It does. Okay. So looks like we're going to hit that. I guess I read it in the paper, but I also got something in the mail that my assessments went up. Mm-hmm. And, that's going on in that southwestern section of the city. So whenever we developed our budget number for property taxes, was that taken into consideration that those assessments were going to go up, or?
Well, by state statute, our revenues, we can only budget a 4% increase in the revenues. So when we get the certified assessments from the state, we'll know what percent, how much of that 4% is due to assessments versus how much is due to increasing the rate. And right now, assessments are up, you're correct, and it looks like just on preliminary numbers, the rate might need to go up only 1% because the assessments will take up that gap of the 3%.
Very good. Very good. Any other questions, anyone? Anyone in the public? Entertain a motion to receive and file.
So moved.
Call for the vote.
Commissioner Smithwright.
Aye.
Commissioner Glenn.
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley.
Yes.
Mayor Payne.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford.
Yes.
Motion passes. Mr. Parrish, next item.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm asking the Commission to consider the following personnel appointments tonight. Alex Knott, probationary full-time, non-civil service appointment as a driver, effective May 9th. Timothy Young, probationary full-time, civil service appointment, labor or maintenance helper, May 9th. Gilbert Tanner, regular full-time, non-civil service appointment, maintenance specialist, May 11th. And Stephen Phillips, probationary full-time, non-civil service appointment, police officer, effective May 30th.
Have a motion for approval?
Motion.
Second.
Second. Any comments, questions by anyone? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Glenn.
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley.
Yes.
Mayor Payne.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford.
Yes.
Commissioner Smithwright.
Aye.
Motion passes. Any further items, Mr. Parrish?
Thank you, no, Mayor.
All right, we'll go to communications from elected officials. Mr. Smithwright.
Mayor, I just have one thing. I just wanted to publicly thank our police chief for speaking at the Lady Kentucky Colonel's annual Derby luncheon. The ladies decided that they wanted to know about scams and things that people run these games on these elderly people. He did an excellent job, and I mean, not only is he a good police chief, but he is a good speaker. And they all commented on how well he did. And I just wanted to publicly thank him for doing that.
Well done. Good deal. Mayor Pro Tem?
I have nothing this evening.
I do not have anything, Commissioner.
I just have one brief thing, and I've just found this out prior to the meeting about Buzz Norris's passing.
That's right.
And what a great public servant he was. Those many years he served as judge executive. So I just want to send, I know, all of the wishes to the family and prayers from our city commission.
I would just echo your comments. I was about to say the same thing. Buzz Norris was the first Republican elected fiscal court judge and did an excellent job. So condolences to his family.
Yeah, he did. That was a surprise. Anyone from the public? Any comments from the public? On any issue that's not been on the agenda?
Bob Darling, 414 Gary Court, and I would mention that Buzz was also my teacher at high school. So most of us remember him from not necessarily government service, but things that he did before he got here. Of course, I will say one thing, government class, he sure changed when he got in office, because he'd tell us one thing in class, but when they got in office, they did something else. But anyway, what I brought tonight was an issue that I brought up about 2 years ago. If anybody'd seen Sunday's paper, Keith Lawrence's article, and he says maybe this is just a personal gripe, but I think it's a bigger problem than that. We're having problems again with the EAS system, emergency alert system on Cablevision. Keith was having problems on the radio, and I wanted to bring up just a couple issues. I've been working with Wayne Hart, Channel 25's the meteorologist, and he sent me a quote that you have there, and I'd like to read it. He says, "We've been fighting that battle too, but this problem needs to be fixed. The technology is there. It's just a matter of cable companies spending a few extra dollars to make it happen." He says, "When severe warnings are issued, especially tornado warnings, it is imperative that viewers receive the information as soon as possible. The system of many cables utilized to accomplish this, but defeats the essential purpose of getting detailed information to their viewers in a timely manner. The blue screen with the official EAS warning informs viewers of a warning, but makes it difficult for them to receive the detailed information they need to take action. In the event of a tornado warning, when minutes, if not seconds, count, this could be the difference between life and death. As local broadcasters, we have the responsibility to inform our viewers, and we do it in a very detailed and timely way, utilizing a live broadcast with current radar information and a meteorologist who's pointing out the specific area of danger. And all this can be conveyed much faster and more efficiently than the EAS audio broadcast over the blue screen. The EAS system is indeed necessary for most cable companies that are not affiliated with weather departments, but I urge the cable companies to bypass the EAS system for the 4 local channels in the Evansville market. It would be a tragedy if someone were to lose their life because they were unable to see this type of information in a timely and efficient process." The other night, when we had the F1 tornado attack the trailer park in East End, I was watching a blue screen telling me that Perry County, Indiana had a tornado warning. Well, I'm sorry for the citizens of Perry County, Indiana, but I would be more concerned for what citizens of Davis County. We did, 2 years ago, we met with the cable company, myself, city attorney, and your cable committee to discuss this issue. The second sheet that I passed out here is the FCC has a guidebook for the EAS system. The EAS system is really a Cold War relic that was meant to get out nuclear warnings. The second page there, what I wanted to point out was it says the EAS system may be activated at management discretion. And the key word there is may. It doesn't have to do it. In fact, cable systems don't have to participate in this program. The only 3 things they do if they have the EAS, they have to do presidential messages, nuclear warnings, and a once weekly test. That's the only thing they have to do. They do not have to do weather. So because our cable system is probably about to change ownership to Charter, I would request that we get the cable committee back together again and go over this issue and see if we can't get them to install the correct equipment to help in this community. Because for about 18 minutes during the last weather thing, I was watching a blue screen. and I'd already got the warnings from everybody else. And you know, they like to say, well, what if you're not watching one of the live TV channels because it locks everything up? You can't do anything with your cable system. So I would request we kind of have another meeting because, you know, we're having problems again.
Bob, I think that's an excellent idea. I, too, was watching the TV, the broadcast, the weather, and all of a sudden this loud noise comes over, and I'm trying to hear what the reporter is saying, and he's describing the events as they take place, and I couldn't hear a thing with all of that noise going. Bill, I think that's a good suggestion. Would you see that our Cable Advisory Committee gets this and find out what they can do and report back to this commission, would you please? Because I think that is a problem.
An issue. We don't want to lose life because, you know,
yeah,
the
I
whole
agree.
system.
It's a good suggestion, Bob. Thank you very much. Anyone else? I will entertain a motion. We adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second, call for the vote.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Mayor Payne,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford,
Yes.
Commissioner Smithwright,
Aye.
Commissioner Glenn.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank everybody for coming.